Welcome to IELTS Task 2 Problem and Solution Essay Writing for Advanced Learners. This is for people who would like to score 7 or higher on their IELTS exam. The question is, in many countries, families are abandoning their farms to live in cities. Why is this happening? What measures can be taken to solve this problem? We'll organize the essay into 4 paragraphs. Paragraph 1 will be the introduction. Paragraph 2 will be the first body paragraph where you discuss one of the measures. Paragraph 3 will be the second body paragraph where you discuss another measure. And paragraph 4 will be the conclusion paragraph. The best way to start your essay is by identifying a context for the problem, the context of the problem. You can think of context in terms of place, time frame, and social issues. Or you could say there's a geographical context, there's a chronological context, and there's a sociological context. For the sake of memorizing an easy plan, I recommend that you choose one place, one time frame, and 2 social issues. I recommend that you locate the place to your own country. It says in many countries. So I recommend that you locate the place to your own country. They're giving you a chance to choose any country. Choose your own. You can write from experience. And for the time frame, you can choose some time in the past. You can choose current times, or you can imagine into the future. So depending on which country you're from, it might change. For example, in China, if you were writing about China, you might want to write about the Cultural Revolution time when many people came from the villages to the big cities. Okay, if it's not too sensitive. Although right now during COVID, a lot of people went from the cities to the farms. So that sounds like it might be interesting to talk about. Oh, well, can we reverse this? Can we talk about people moving from cities back to farms? You may not. Even though that might be a current context that your mind thought of when you saw this, you can't, because that's not the question. The question is asking a directional question, farms to cities, not cities to farms. So think of a time in your country when people moved from farms to cities. And if you can't think of one, imagine into the future. It can be hypothetical. Okay. That said, the tense is are and happening. So are abandoning is happening. And that is present continuous tense, which indicates an ongoing issue. And that's why it's okay for this particular prompt. You can talk about it from the past, you can talk about it currently, or you can talk about it into the future because it's a continual problem. Okay, and then pick 2 social issues. Okay, 2 social contexts, right? So the measures can be placed in a social context. So you might want to talk about the social issue of large families and birth control allowing people to have smaller families. So that would be an issue, right? So the previous generation may have had a large family, but due to birth control access, the next generation or the current generation has a smaller family, and that family cannot manage the farm. So they abandon the farm to live in the city. They don't necessarily sell their farm, but they don't work it anymore because they don't have the human power to to manage the farm anymore. Okay, so that could be one of the social issues. Another social issue might be that due to the internet and access to education, the children are more interested in other careers and have access to pursue those careers. So even if they do have a large family, the children could decide that due to their access to any kind of education they'd like, in the proliferation of the internet, Starlink, even in rural areas, or satellite internet, if you don't want to go with the brand, those children are now moving to the city to pursue their preferred careers, and they're not forced into farming. Okay, so those could be two different social issues that you want to identify, but make sure that you identify these ahead of time before starting to write. So I'd like you to plot out before you write, and you should spend 10 minutes doing this, which is why it's really important to say, oh, it's problem solution. I'm going to have already in place. I know that I need to have a location, a timeline, and two issues. If you already have that plan in place, it makes it a lot easier just to quickly write out a 10-minute plan for your paragraphing. The first thing you need to do is paraphrase the prompt. If you would like to get a 7 or higher, you're going to have to demonstrate your ability to use synonym language, and you're going to have to demonstrate your ability to use variations of word forms. And paraphrasing the prompt allows you to demonstrate that. So in many countries, you could say globally or all over the world as your paraphrase. Families are abandoning their farms. So families is a certain cultural unit. So you can say people instead of families, or you can say, if you don't want to broaden it to people, you can say families and keep that word. And then instead of using the word abandoning, you can say are leaving. Families are leaving their farms. And then, and if you don't want to say farms, you can say rural areas and to live in cities. Instead of saying cities, you can say metropolises. Okay, so demonstrate your ability to understand what the prompt is asking and use synonym language. You can keep the same structure for your paraphrase, but you will want to use appropriate synonyms and variations of form. So paraphrase the prompt, then you're going to describe a context. So say you are from Peru, you can say, this is happening in Peru because of the availability of satellite internet and increased job opportunities for farmers. And you're going to want to note the topic sentences. So you can say it's happening currently, time frame, in Peru due to the advent of the internet, increasing job opportunities, and due to access to birth control, reducing family sizes. So you're going to have the overarching categories of your two body paragraphs mentioned. But I issue you a warning. Do not describe the details in your introduction. It should be short. It should be 3 sentences at the most. Very short. For an IELTS introduction, it needs to be short. Okay, so when you're planning, yes, you might want to actually write out the paraphrased sentence as part of your plan because it's very important to get that right. But for the other 2 sentences, don't write out sentences, just write out a bullet point. Just insert, right? So enter bullet points for your overarching categories. You'll write fluently later. You want to establish your direction. Establish your flight plan before you take off into the air. Okay, so paragraph 2 is your first body paragraph, and you'll want to have a topic sentence. I recommend, you don't have to do it this way, but this is an easy thing to remember. When you have problem solution, an easy way to maintain the coherency of your context and allow your ability to demonstrate your knowledge of synonym language and variations of form using different words and synonyms for these contexts. You keep those contexts the same throughout. Contexts are always the same. You just use different words to indicate your the breadth of your internal lexicon. And I do recommend that you have a practical solution for the first body paragraph and an ideal solution for the second body paragraph. It allows you to maintain your consistent context and maintain your consistent issues, right? Consistent place, consistent time, consistent social issues. But the variation, the thing that makes the paragraphs need to be separated, is that one is practical and one is ideal, meaning this one might be able to happen today, and this one could happen if the world were perfect, or if you were in charge, if you were boss of the world, this is how you would manage it. But given the limitations of the current place and time frame, this is more practical. This is why it's really important to choose a place you know, because you'll know which solutions are practical and which solutions are more idealized and not realistic, but would be nice if it could happen. You'll have that more fluent understanding. Okay, so you write your topic sentence. You might want to write out your actual topic sentence for your planning purposes because the topic sentence is so important. Make sure you refer back to the prompt, but create a sentence that stands alone and gives an overarching viewpoint, a bird's eye view of the various social issues and concrete details. Okay, so you're going to just first write out the full topic sentence and then just jot down in short bullet point phrases the first social issue and the concrete detail that supports your practical solution. And don't forget to include language that demonstrates your coherent ability to include context of place and time frame. And make sure that you use variations of form and synonym language so you're not repeating the same words over and over again, if you can. If you can't, if it's not easy for you to do that, that's okay. Just write out the same words, and then during the editing process, you can go back and try to think of synonyms, okay? But if they're readily available to you, then you can plot them out in your planning stage. And if they are readily available to you, you will know, I'm probably going to get a 9 on this. If they're not readily available to you and you have to go back during the editing process at the very end, you're probably going to get closer to a 7. And if you write and you don't have time at the end to go back and edit and come up with synonyms, then you won't be getting a 7. You're at the intermediate stage and you should be watching a different video. Okay, so this is for people who are advanced and can plan their time and make sure that they spend 10 minutes planning, 20 minutes writing fluently, and 10 minutes editing and coming up with better synonyms and better variations of form with their phrasing. Okay, so discuss social issue 1 and discuss social issue 2, making sure to give concrete details to support your practical solution, and make sure that you use those languaging that indicates your ability to be coherent in discussing context, place, and time frame. For paragraph 3, you will do the same. Have parallel structure, and it will look really organized. Okay, so for your topic sentence, you will describe an ideal solution, and again, write out that topic sentence in the planning stage because it's so important. So there's only 4 sentences you should be writing in the planning stage. Paraphrasing the prompt in one way, having your first topic sentence, your second topic sentence, and paraphrasing the prompt again in a different way for the conclusion. So you should only be writing 4 sentences fully in complete thought for your planning stages. The rest are just bullet points, organizing, and making sure you have a clear flight plan. Okay, so let's go back to paragraph 3, the second body paragraph. After you've written your full topic sentence describing an ideal solution, you will discuss how that ideal solution relates to social issue 1. It should probably be the same social issue mentioned in the first body paragraph to have a really tight, coherent context. If you have social issue number 3, it will become a little looser and it won't be a 9. Might be an 8 or a 7. So in order to have a really tight essay, you should continue to talk about the same social issue. How do you do that without repeating yourself? You have to know synonym language and variations of form. That's what you're being tested on. Okay, so discuss social issue number 1 again in light of the ideal solution, and give a concrete detail to support your ideal solution, and make sure that you include that place and time frame in your languaging. And then again, discuss social issue number 2. You discussed social issue number 2 in the first body paragraph in light of your more practical solution. And now you're going to discuss social issue number 2 in light of a more ideal solution. Maybe it couldn't happen, it's hypothetical, but if you were boss of the world or in a perfect world, this would be a great solution to this issue. Make sure again to give a concrete detail and include the place and time frame, again using variations of form in your languaging. Okay, so then we've got the final paragraph, paragraph 4. It's a conclusion paragraph. This introduction is a shorter paragraph. The second paragraph, the first body paragraph, is a longer paragraph. The third paragraph, or the second body paragraph, is a longer paragraph. And the fourth paragraph, the conclusion paragraph, is again a shorter paragraph. You don't need more than 3 sentences. You will, like I said, paraphrase the prompt again. We're going to say it another way. So farmers, you can change the way that you state it. Farmers or generational farmers are increasing their life opportunities for themselves and their children by moving to the cities and pursuing other careers. And or you could say farmers are moving to cities. it could be very simple. Farmers are moving to cities. Farmers are becoming city dwellers. Right, so paraphrase the prompt. Okay, and then reiterate. And you want to also, you want to mention why that's a problem. So farmers are becoming city dwellers and leaving behind their farms, which reduces the local food supply or the nation's food supply. So that's the problem. Okay. And then you're going to say, and they're doing it because they are having smaller families and they are pursuing other careers. Okay, so then you're going to have a practical and an ideal solution. And you're going to mention what they are. You're just reiterating that there's a practical solution and that there's an ideal solution. They both could solve this overall problem of reduction of farmers. And then choose the solution you would like to see happen first, or choose the solution you would like to see happen the most. I would prefer to see the ideal solution happen, if only we can get our act together. If only people could work together, or governments could work together, or governments could provide subsidies, whatever your solution may be. Right, so that would be what you would like to happen most. You probably want the ideal solution to happen most. Or maybe you're a more practical person and you want the practical thing to happen because you realize that needs to be the first step. So you could mention that. I would like to see the practical solution happen first, and I hope that the ideal solution could one day happen in the future. I will issue you another warning. Please do not put forth new ideas in the conclusion. Only reiterate. Only reiterate. The only new thing you should put in the paragraph is your opinion on the matter. And that's sort of a final send-off, a takeaway. Okay, so those are some ideas for planning. So what I would like you to do is comment below on what you think a practical and an ideal solution would be to this issue. What's one practical solution and what's one ideal solution? And if you'd like, as a bonus, put in your country. And are you talking about the past, the present, the future? And if you really want to tell us what's going on in that amazing brain of yours, tell us your social issues. So we'll come together and share ideas, and we will continue to grow and progress in our IELTS goals. All right, thanks so much. Have a great day. Ciao.